Thank you, Atul bhai. I hope I am audible to all my friends and well-wishers, those who are in webinar. Thanks to for fellow panelists for raising some of the very pertinent issues in the last couple of minutes. And thank you to all the seniors and guides and friends, those who are attending this session. Sir, I am looking at something very exciting in COVID and beyond COVID. I will say that let us capitalize the crisis. This is what COVID has done to us. And I was telling in most of the places that thank you, COVID. At least you have booted all our mindsets the way we were thinking and working. Otherwise, there was no way for 138 crore population you can have a reboot button. The only thing what can be done is through COVID. And I think we should look at this that yes, we are going through a churning phase. We are going through a crisis. But this is where India always performed the best. You look at the history of India, we always came out with flying color when there was a crisis. And I think this is where the India will do much better than what we were in pre-COVID era. So I am extremely optimistic, and I wrote my very first piece when I says that new world trade order and globalization is going to change. And you must have seen some of my writings which I'm saying that this is where the India's time is now starting. I'm not going into politics. We know what is happening in China, China's relation with the world, what Trump was saying yesterday and other countries are saying. Incidentally, I'm part of various international consultation which is going on. Somewhere there is a serious setback on the positioning of China, both mentally, physically, and economically, and also which is reflecting in political thought process around the world. The only opportunity in the world today, the biggest market available is India. And India actually COVID. In a post-COVID era, India will be a star if we put our house in order. Coming back to the topic, I will say that my whole theme is around how to capitalize this crisis. Let me put one very simple thing in which I always ask and I don't get answer. And again, I'm throwing that question back to all the audiences. I'm not expecting answer now, maybe later on. Why oil seeds are called oil seeds when protein content is more than the oil? And this is where a mystery, which I don't understand as a food technologist or a dairy technologist, that who gave this wrong term for a good product. Because same thing when I told government of India that why you call more nutritious grains like wheat and rice is less nutritious than so-called coarse cereals. And we are downgrading a better product by giving a wrong name. Why not we change the terminology to nutri-cereal? And I'm happy that government of India issued a notification that coarse cereals will be called nutri-cereals now onwards. My request to SEA, please reboot the definition and see that we have instead of oil seed, a protein grains may be a better deal because then consumer will have a positive thinking. We are talking about the nutrition. We all are talking about better health. And I think we will have as a grain itself or the output itself of so-called oil seed crops have a better value realization just by changing a name and by changing the perception. Moving next, what I'm looking at is that when we are talking about oil seeds, when we look into any oil seed today in a COVID crisis, what is today we are looking at is first line of defense is immunity. There is no vaccine, no medicine. The first line of defense is body immunity. The source of body immunity is protein. It's supported by minerals and vitamins, other micronutrients. There is no better product than oil seeds when we talk about providing nutrition in the terms of protein to the society, whether it is human life or animal life. I think we have to change the mindset that oil meal is only for livestock feeding. It is for all living beings for their better life and for increasing immunity. So what it leads to? It leads to that whatever we are able to produce so-called oil seeds and extracting oil meal out of it, this is the only component which is going to give us better realization, if I say per kg, than what is there in oil. So for the profitability of industry, I think the raw material should be, focus should be oil meal. Oil is just a commodity which is substitutable. And if you have seen around the world, even in India, people do claim their food is nutritious. Many companies, they claim their brand is nutritious. But minute a particular oil becomes cheaper, they immediately switch from rice bran to palm. But the claim remains the same. So it means that all people, those who are making claim and using the oil that we use a healthy oil, it is only on paper. In practice, it is the cheapest oil. So fact of the matter is that oil will always be a cheapest commodity game, which is means L1 tender. L1 means no margin. So I will say that industry's viability and profitability depends upon how we manage oil meal, not the oil will continue to be consumed as a fuel in food system because body needs energy and oil offers that energy calorific value. So I, as a personal, even when I was running a oil industry on my own, my message to my team, both production and marketing, was oil is a byproduct. Find out the value in oil meal, capitalize that, and that will give you balance sheet bottom line, not the oils. And that always benefited in our strategy. And I request to all the audiences here, please think oil meal seriously. It will definitely give you better margins than what is there in oil. Second point of looking at is that when we are talking about oil meal, I am actually looking at it as source of protein, both for human as well as animal segment. When we are talking of oil meal as a source of protein, we also look at that what are the comparative valuation of protein today. We look at source of protein in dal, we look at source of protein in oil meal, we look at source of protein in chicken, we look at source of protein in milk, and we look at source of protein in egg or in fish. The cost per percentage of protein is, or I will say that formula which should drive forward. Today we have to look at how high protein component should get a premium. Around the world, if you look at in dairy segment, skim milk powder always commanded higher price than whole milk powder because whole milk had a higher fat and comparatively less protein. So what gives premium to protein? We have to relook into it, how we can capitalize in a COVID era or post-COVID era when protein is required to build immunity, which is the first line of defense. I am sure if we convince people that products made out of soya meal like soya vadi and whole lot of other things and other oil meal, maybe groundnut, maybe other products, we have to do a lot of innovations to make them more valued product. Today, the problem is that oil meal is considered as byproduct and no effort is going on innovation and creating value out of oil meal. So premium product called protein, we are actually throwing at a throwaway price or even below that. And which is a tragedy in the whole business model itself, that what we are doing with a premium product, why we are not able to derive or capitalize on the value which God has given to us, and why we are not able to create wealth out of it, which is premium in the crop itself. Segment, if you look at very clearly, that animal protein, I always wrote, and also to the customers in the initial days when there was too much rumor was going on, I said very clearly, the cheapest vegetable today in the market is egg curry. And egg is the best protein and the cheapest available. And what we are doing is we are spending money on a high-end product and giving a substandard product. This education to consumer will create boost for animal protein, and for animal protein we need oil meals to support the animal protein production. So if we create a market of animal protein, immediate bulk takeoff of oil meal will start, and it will be sustainable, because please appreciate that no consumer wants to become sick. Everybody wants to have a strong immunity, because COVID is not the first and the last incidence. We had incidences, but we never had a lockdown. But everybody is afraid that COVID may reoccur. It may happen like we are finding in different parts of the world, that everything is normal down the line 6 months, but suddenly in 1 month you realize that there is an outbreak in some part of India, that area, that district or that state is locked down or quarantined. We should be ready for that. So best way of defense is create human immunity. It means today we are in the sweet spot in COVID and post-COVID era to educate consumer what they should eat. High protein diet, which oilseed based products are offering, whether it is a livestock or oilseed or soya vadi, or we come out with many more products, or maybe blending of soya flour with wheat flour and soya flour with other combinations. I think there is a huge opportunity for us to capitalize on soya meal, or I will say that oil meals in large. Why I'm repeatedly saying soya meal? Because that's the only oil seed where some innovation has have happened and we have created a human consumable options. Why we are not able to do that much in case of, if I say, groundnut or tel or other issues? I'm sure we need innovation to capitalize on that opportunity. Now, coming back to a issue of soya meal quality itself. Now, it is very sad to look at it when you look at, and I am still not able to find out the reason for it. When I purchase a raw material, there is a standard of 10-2, 10-2 का स्टैंडर्ड है. आउटपुट में भी वही का वही है. तो हम फैक्ट्री में कर क्या रहे थे? हमने मिट्टी तक नहीं निकाली. 2% हमने मिट्टी खरीदी अगर रॉ मटेरियल में, और फिनिश्ड गुड्स में भी हम 2% मिट्टी दे रहे हैं. तो फैक्ट्री कर क्या रही थी? तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि जो पुरानी ट्रेडिंग प्रैक्टिसेस थी, द ओल्ड वे ऑफ फंक्शनिंग इज नो मोर वैलिड. पीपल विल लुक एट ओनली बॉटम लाइन की पड़ता नहीं पड़ रहा है, मार्जिन नहीं बैठ रहा है. बट पॉइंट इज, टुडे थिंक द सैड सिनेरियो, all large poultry players are going backward integration, putting up their own solvent plants. This is wrong. This is sad. And you know the side effect of this? More and more integration will enhance in this country, because small farmers will not be able to sustain the technological changes, the whole lot of other changes. More and more integration will happen. Sale of oil meal from floating around oil meal factories, solvent plants will go down. More and more dependency will come to a centralized in-house production because of quality reasons. Poultry is one of the most scientific industry today in any agriculture domain. And that we have to keep in mind. Here FCR is this is the only sector where we virtually calculate everyday FCR. Like in solvent, we calculate the hexane consumption on a daily basis. This is the only segment where we capture FCR. It means 0.01 is a big thing in poultry, and nobody can afford a substandard input. And unless our solvent industry exercises this caution, I don't think what will happen, because these same integrators will set up another factory, because that will help them in ensuring quality and performance. So unless we focus on meal quality, I don't see that where is going to be takeoff down the line when integration will rule the poultry industry. Who will buy the oil meal from rest of the oil solvent industry? So this is a warning. When your customer is setting up his own factory, production facility, it means something is wrong in the supplies. And that message should be very, very clear. Second area we have to look at is price discovery. Let me tell you, sir, something which in detail I may not be able to share, but I can give you a flavor. On the instruction of PMO and Niti Aayog, there is a core committee to look into all the regulations in agri-food space. I am incidentally part of that core committee, where we have every day 2-hour meeting with top level secretaries and joint secretaries virtually on daily basis. And that the amount of work which is going on, I can simply give you a flavor that if that happens, and that's why I'm saying thank you COVID, nobody thought of those reforms which is under discussion. Virtually every dimension is under discussion. And most of the documents are ready, most of the calculations are ready, internal brainstorming is going on, political brainstorming is going on. And hopefully you will see some interesting announcements what will happen to the overall regulatory environment in which agriculture is working. But some of the key points which industry and policy makers have to seriously think, and there is no easy answer, and that's why I'm flagging it to you, so that we start thinking when the announcement happens, we are at least mentally ready to receive them and see how we can move forward. Number one, what is the alternate to MSP? Today, government is deciding MSP. If tomorrow we remove MSP concept and we allow trading outside APMC, and there is a liberalization in agriculture trade, how price discovery will happen? Who will decide the price? And that is going to be, if prices crash, there's going to be reaction from the farming community. If there is going to be something else, the other component will react. What is going to be the right price discovery mechanism? I think across the commodities, we have to start thinking now, because we need innovative approaches here. And we have never tested, because we all were operating in a bound condition. We were never had a freedom to think around it. But I think now time has come. We have to seriously look at it, because tomorrow it may happen that before announcements, government may indirectly ask you, policymakers may ask you, what do you think, how price should be discovered for farmers? Do we have
2 minutes.
answer? There are a lot of things one has to look at it. And third point, which is another point which is very important for us to look at, is the value addition. As I mentioned initially, huge demand from consumer side for protein. Doctors will recommend increased protein intake. Can we convert our oil meal into a human grade edible portions? Maybe in blending, maybe directly, maybe some extraction, whatever. I think it is time when people are, and your R&D teams are sitting at home. There's nothing happening in quality labs most of the time. People are operating from home. At least send instruction back to your managers. Start exploring internet, how we can create value added human edible product when it comes to oil meal. And the last point which is important for us is that competition and the profitability. We will have huge market within India, but at the same time there are going to be large number of players. I was just addressing APO conference few days back for 21 countries, and let me tell you that there's going to be massive shortage of lot of food item in Asian countries. And explore the new markets. There's going to be huge demand. Our conventional markets may not support us because of their financial condition, logistic challenges, etc. Asia is emerging as a major market for many of the products. Relook into country by country what you can do, and there's a huge opportunity for that. So my only point is that I will say that let us capitalize the crisis. Great days ahead. India will be much stronger, much more powerful in coming days, and is a great opportunity for us, because we are today talking about 138 crore population, and by 2024 we will supersede China easily when it comes to number of consumers in the country. So I think we are the largest market which is underdeveloped. It means huge headspace to grow. Whether we are in a position to capitalize or somebody else will come from outside to capitalize this opportunity, rest is up to us. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.